Good morning, Claire.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for granting Cambodianess the interview here in SIEM REAP, especially in Memoire Palace Hotel. Claire, you have been in Cambodia for how long? May I ask you again?
Sure. So it's been just over 6 years in total, but that's spread over 2 visits. So we were here from late 2019 through the COVID years, and then we went back to Australia in 2022 for about 6, 7, 8 months, and then came back late 2022. So the total of those 2 time periods adds up to about 6.5 years, I think.
6.5 years.
Yes.
But your first visit to Cambodia, you said during COVID-19, was it a visit, just to visit SIEM REAP, or you were thinking of staying in SIEM REAP for your retirement?
It was our intention to stay permanently at that point. And it was just unfortunate that the timing was how it was with COVID. So it just, it was, I don't know whether you know, but Australia had very strict quarantine rules, and it was very difficult for us to get back into Australia. So there was a long period of time where we didn't see our families and friends and things like that. So when we were finally able to go back to Australia, we decided that we would go and look at moving back to Australia permanently, just to regroup, think about what we were going to do, and reassess our plans for the future. But we were there for about 6 months, and we just really missed Cambodia, and we decided that we just had to come back. And so that's why we were back there for such a short period of time.
So the thing is that, in Southeast Asia, many cities are similar, cities in Thailand, cities in Vietnam, in Laos, they are very similar to each other, the weather, the people. But why did you choose SIEM REAP in particular? Like, what is, for example, 1 or 2 or 3 things that caught your attention to come here?
Yeah, so I think we have an overarching love of Cambodia. And so once we'd made the decision that we wanted to live in Cambodia, then we had to look at the cities within Cambodia that we could potentially stay in long term. And so those for us were SIEM REAP, Phnom Penh and Kampot. And we eventually lived in all of those, and Kep as well, had a bit of a look around, and we just decided that SIEM REAP was the best fit for us. So we found that Phnom Penh is very busy, very hectic. It's difficult to get around. So if you have friends that live a long way from where you live, it's very hard to see them because of the traffic and the distance. And so we tried Kampot as well and found that it was the opposite, just a little bit too small, not quite enough of a community there for us. And SIEM REAP was just the best fit. And of course, the wonderful temples here as well were a big part in the decision to stay here long term.
When you mention the word community, for example, do you refer to the Cambodian community or maybe the expat community where you can interact, with your lifestyle back in Australia, something like that?
Yeah, I think I mean the expat community when I say it like that. But I guess one other thing that SIEM REAP has going for it is that there's so much tourism here, or so much tourist infrastructure, maybe not so many tourists right now, but the infrastructure is here. So there's so many hotels, restaurants, bars, things like that. And those sorts of things facilitate community really well, I think, when you've got that kind of network of places where you can go. And a lot of wonderful staff in those places that speak English too just makes it incredibly easy. Yeah. So I guess by having a robust expat community also opens the door for us to connect with the local community a lot more too. And also through the work of our not-for-profit partners here in SIEM REAP as well.
So you have been to Kampot, to Kaip, to SIEM REAP and to Phnom Penh. So basically almost the entire, not the entire, but let's say some of the most popular city in Cambodia.
Yes.
So how about Kaip and Kampot? Can you evaluate between the two? Because some people said, Kaip is small, but Kaip is, what they call like petite, small but cute, something like that.
Yeah, I think Kaip, I always struggle to say that properly. It's, I find that as a town, it doesn't really have a centre. It's sort of strung along the coast in a line, whereas Kampot is more of a traditional town in that sense. It has a town centre and then kind of, the concentric circles radiating out from that. But Kep is much more of a line coastal, sort of along the coast.
Yeah, coastal.
Yeah. And there's no discernible centre. And I think that going back to community and things like that, it's hard because it doesn't have a centre really to sort of I don't know. Don't know where I was going with that.
It's okay. You mean like it's not like spread out from the middle, something like that?
Yes. Yeah. It's just it's much harder to connect with people when it's so spread out like that.
I see. I would like to focus on the word community again, because sometimes when people say, oh, foreigners or maybe expat, they come to Cambodia, they want to experience, of course, the lifestyle of the people, in rural area, but like you said, sometimes you also need the expat community. So how do you balance between the two? For example, you want to enjoy the rural Cambodia, the traditional Cambodia, but at the same time, you don't want to, just to to forget your own, countrymen or something like that. So what do retirees look for a city when they want to choose, a place to live, for example?
I think for us anyway, it was the diversity of people, the diversity within the expat community, the diversity within the expat community in SIEM REAP that was really probably the deciding factor. And I think that's shaped by a lot of things. For example, there's a lot of people in SIEM REAP, a lot of, when I say people in this context, I'm talking about expats, a lot of expats teaching English, teaching in schools here. There's a lot of people working in not-for-profits. There's a lot of people doing startups. There's foreigners that own restaurants and hotels and things. Yeah, there's people teaching music. There's people doing all sorts of things here. And I think that it's much more diverse than Phnom Penh. And there's a lot more retirees here as well. Whereas Phnom Penh is really, most of the people that live there, I would say, live there because they work there. And that's because they're teaching in the big schools there, or they're working in some of the bigger not-for-profits that have their headquarters down there. But yeah, I think the community of expats is more diverse up here.
So you mean basically SIEM REAP is more like a balancing, a balance, let's say, between nature, calmness, and also not too calm. There is also quite a big community in
There's
the
a big
city.
community. It's great because you can take it or leave it when you want to. So you can join in with things in the community. So, for example, Ripple Effect Rides, they run these rides probably once a month, I think. Everyone gets on a bicycle and rides out to one of the sites of the local not-for-profits, charities, has a look around there. And that's a really nice thing that you can get involved in and join. But you can also spend your time quietly if you prefer to do that. You can go and visit the temples and enjoy that solitude and peacefulness. But there's always something going on. There are so many events happening in SIEM REAP. You could do something different every day of the week if you wanted to.
I see, Claire. But at the same time, you don't just only come here to retire and enjoy SIEM REAP. You also share what you know.
Yes.
Even though you live here for, separately for 6 years. I mean, there are 2 trips, like you mentioned. But it seems that you know a lot about SIEM REAP. Sometimes more than people from Phnom Penh know SIEM REAP.
Yeah.
Let's say, let's assume like that. So, how do you get to, let's say, absorb, the things in SIEM REAP so fast? Like, for example, in your video, I saw you rode the motorbike to some of the very remote temple.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? And why do you want to share that to your fellow, countrymen, for example?
I just love exploring the Cambodian countryside so much. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to get on the motorbike and try and find like a really remote temple and just ride around and see what I can see. Walk past an interesting looking street and turn down and see what's down there. It's just, I guess it's a curiosity. I'm just really curious about what's around me, whether it's kind of down a little street in town or whether it's finding a temple that's out kind of remote in the bush. It's really just that curiosity about what's there, what can I see? I spend a lot of time on Google Maps looking at different things and,
You're not a geographer, no?
Sorry?
You're not a geographer?
No, not at all.
Cartographer, something
no,
like that? No,
I just really like looking at maps. I think it's just a way of seeing kind of a representation of what's on the ground that really works for me. I'm just that kind of person. I just enjoy.
But do you expect
stuff.
people in your YouTube channel to enjoy what you are curious?
I hope they do. And I know that within the channel, we have videos that cover a lot of different topics. So we have ones that talk about, finding a house here, finding an apartment, what you need to do in order to retire here. And then we have other videos, like you said, where I'm out on a motorbike looking at things in the countryside. And there's different audiences for each of those kinds of videos. Some people will watch all of them, and some people will just pick and choose, like they prefer just the information about how to live in Cambodia, how to move to Cambodia. Other people really like the temple stuff, but I have to say they're a smaller group. Yes, yes. Unfortunately, I wish they were the bigger group.
Yeah.
Yes, I wish that was the bigger group of people, because that's what I truly love doing. So I just kind of try and get them in with that stuff, like the living in Cambodia stuff, and then throw in some temple stuff and hope that they'll enjoy that too.
I see.
Yeah.
Let's say, frankly speaking, do you think foreigners have enough information on how to live in Siem Reap or in Cambodia? I mean, apart from, let's say, the commercial, the beautiful, footages of the ocean. But do you think, expat or maybe future expat really have, the hand-on information about, for example, where to buy food, or where to get the proper medicine, medical care, or where to get, proper exercising location? Do you think more of that information should be made available, easier to future expats?
I do, and I guess that's why I created the forreal.com website, is because I have a lot of kind of knowledge of different places around Siem Reap, and I wanted to put that all in one location so people could find it easily. But having said that, I don't think it's that difficult once you're here to find those things.
But before you are here, it can be a bit difficult, because all you see is online, just online information.
Yes, right? Before you get here, I mean, if people are looking to move here and they've never been to Cambodia before, like we always recommend people come first to have a look, if it's possible. But I understand that for some people it's not possible. And it can be really hard for them to get a sense of what it's like on the ground, because you can watch a video and, I could be talking about the heat, like how it feels to live in a hot climate, and you're just watching it from the comfort of your air-conditioned living room.
So it's not like
you can't understand what it's really like. Yeah, it's really difficult sometimes for those sorts of things to actually understand what it's like here on the ground.
And for real, I mean, honestly, I might say that it is a very catchy name. Why for real? I mean, the real is not like real reality, but real, the Khmer currency, the Cambodian currency. Why did you pick that name?
Well, it's actually got its base in Australian slang. So we say for real, as in, are you for real? As in, are you speaking the truth? So it's about telling the truth about Cambodia, and also then substituting REAL with the name of the currency was kind of a catchy idea, we thought. So yeah, that's where it has its origins in Australian slang. Yeah.
And your YouTube channel, do you expect many people to engage in your content, like what you see today? I mean, when you first created,
No, it took us a very, very long time to reach monetization with YouTube. And I think it's because we were doing that during COVID and everyone had so many other things on their minds. But we made it, and because that growth was very slow, the community of subscribers and followers that we have became very tight-knit. And so we've got a lot of people that were with us right from the beginning that are still with us now. And it's really nice.
Your, let's say, loyal viewers, something like that.
Yeah. So people have got to know us over quite a long period of time. And I think we built up a certain amount of trust with that audience as well, that we don't do things just because someone asks us to. We don't kind of go and stay in hotels for free and things like that. We try to have a bit of authenticity about what we do. Yeah, and I think that's really important.
I see, Claire. But, back to the, let's say, the core idea of retirement again, for example, because to be honest, I'm a bit young. Maybe I don't understand that yet. Maybe in the next 4 or 5 decades. From your perspective as an expat, what is the difference between retiring in your country and retiring outside?
This is a tricky one for me because I only just retired on Thursday last week. So up until last week, I was working remotely for a not-for-profit based in Australia. And so I've only just become retired in Cambodia myself. But I think it's much, much easier to retire here in Cambodia than it is in Australia.
Is it because of the weather, the people, the food, or maybe something that I do not
I think
know?
it's primarily the cost of living. And there's also another factor. Australia at the moment has a really, really big housing crisis that it's facing. So there are not anywhere near enough properties for the number of people that need housing. So if you go to an open house to see a rental in Australia, you'll be one of maybe 100 people looking at that property. And all of those people compete for the property. So they will bid on the rent, offer higher, they will offer to pay a year in advance, all these things to try and be the person that's chosen for the house. Whereas here the opposite is true. Every expat that comes here has a choice of probably 100 properties that would suit their budget and their requirements. So in that respect, it's much, much easier to live here. And of course, those accommodations as well are a fraction of the cost of what they would be in Australia. So, you know, rents in Australia are charged per week.
That is why you do a lot of, budget, budget, how do you call it? Budget management?
Cost of living.
Cost of living
Yes.
in your video.
Yes.
To get, the sense for those who are looking to come to Siem Reap.
Yeah, and we try to show that you don't have to come here and live on a really, really small amount. You know, some people come here with very, very small pensions from overseas, and that's fine. You can do that if you're happy to live within that kind of low level of means. That's fine. No judgment. Wonderful. But we don't live that way, and we wanted to show a different way of living here that isn't that kind of lower level. So we wanted to show what life is like if you have a few more resources behind you, and the life that you can build here and how wonderful that can be.
I see. But, apart from just living, do you think that the opportunity in Siem Reap, I mean, do you think there are many opportunity for retirees in Siem Reap to work for? For example, they can do teaching, they can do, or maybe, light work. Because you cannot just sit in the house and do nothing, and
That's
you cannot
true.
just go on a trip all the time. You need
Yes.
to do some work in order to keep your brain running.
Yes.
So do you think there are many things that retirees can still do in Siem Reap?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So a lot of people choose things like YouTube or social media, and that's great because it puts a different voice out there. I'm all about having multiple voices talking about Cambodia because I think that's how you get the best picture, is how you have like a diverse range of people talking about their experiences through their YouTube videos. So that's a great thing for people to do. There's also so many things that you can join in Siem Reap. So there's book clubs, there's chess club, there's open mic nights, there's live music that you can go and see. There's so many things like that. And then there's, like you say, other things you can get involved with in the community. But for those kinds of things, you have to be very careful because if you are here on a retirement visa, then you shouldn't be working. And in a lot of cases, volunteering is considered the same as working. So people have to be very careful that they're doing things properly and make sure that they're following the rules associated with the visa extension that they have. But having said that, there are still opportunities. You don't have to. You can come over here after 55, so you can get a retirement visa once you're 55, but you don't have to. You can come over here and still get a business visa when you're 50, 60, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then you can do whatever you like once you have the business visa. So it's a matter of choosing the right visa for the life that you want to lead here.
But is there any, for example, caution that retirees should look for before they come to Siem Reap or Cambodia? For example, I mean, frankly speaking, the medical fee is still a bit difficult here.
Yes.
So is there anything that you want them to know, before they come here so that they don't make a wrong choice, for example?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about the medical side of things. And I think it's not the right place for people who have complex medical issues. I think they need to think very carefully about what their needs are and whether those needs can be met within Cambodia and indeed within Siem Reap, because obviously Phnom Penh has better medical services than what we do here in Siem Reap. So that could also influence your decision about which city to live in. But yes, definitely the medical side of things, and kind of tied in with that is insurance. So the older you get, the more difficult and more expensive it is to get insurance as an expat. And if you're 70 or over, the price becomes pretty much prohibitive. So really, really, really expensive. So a lot of people choose to self-insure, and by self-insure, I just mean they have a pocket of money that they just keep put aside in case something happens. So that's something that a lot of people choose to do. And for a lot of people in that older bracket, that's really the only option that's open to them, because insurance is just so expensive after that age, if you're able to find anyone that will take you on.
I see. But one more thing, because, for example, about the food, because Cambodian food, Asian food is, sometimes a bit different from Western food. I mean, for young people like me, maybe if I go to the Western, country, I can adapt because I'm still, able to adapt to change. But for example, expats who wish to come to Cambodia in the future, do you think the food here will, be easy on them, for example, especially in Siem Reap, because people here eat, very strong flavor sometimes.
Absolutely. I think the Cambodian food is very accessible. I think it's not a huge step. It's not incredibly spicy like you might find with Thai food. I think the cuisine here is wonderful, and I think it's quite easy to incorporate some of that into your day-to-day life. So a lot of people eat a mix of different kinds of foods here, and that's again one of the luxuries of Siem Reap, is that we have so many fantastic restaurants and so many different cuisines on offer. But yeah, I don't think it's difficult at all. And a lot of people that come to live in Siem Reap as expats have been coming here for a long time. So maybe they might come once every year or once every 2 years. And I think those people are already very familiar with the food here and are very comfortable with lok lak and, pork and rice for breakfast and things like that.
That is like more general food that people around the world simply, consume. But how about the smelly one, for example? Do you recommend them to try or maybe not to try?
I'm probably the worst person to ask about that, because I'm very, hair on my face. I'm very unadventurous with food.
Okay.
I'm not a foodie. I'm not adventurous with what I eat at all. So most of those things I haven't tried myself, because it's just not my interest. I'd rather be looking at Google Maps than eating fish paste and things like that. But I mean, for people who are into that, it's a fantastic way to get to know the culture and to interact with local people a bit more as well.
Speaking of interaction, I have met a few expats living in Siem Reap. They said, I'm not going to learn Khmer, because many people still speak English with me, because, in Cambodia, even though, some young children, they learn English first before they go to Khmer school. So do you think communication is easy in English?
Absolutely. And I think that's why, as you say, so many expats don't make the effort to learn. I've had some lessons myself. And now that I'm retired, that's one of my goals in the near future, is to spend some time doing quite an intense program of Khmer lessons.
You will learn Khmer, Khmer language?
Yes,
wow.
to add to what I already have and consolidate the learning that I've already done. Yes, really looking forward to having the time and space to do that.
Do you think Khmer alphabet, Khmer grammar is difficult? Let's say from your opinion?
Look, I think English is probably the most difficult language to learn. And I think our effort being us as expats, our effort involved in learning Khmer is a lot less than what it would take Khmer people to learn English. So I think your task learning English is much harder than our task learning Khmer, just because we have so many more tenses, we have so many more difficult grammatical rules and things like that. So I think we are on the fortunate side there.
So if you were to recommend, to future expats, like, why should they learn Khmer? Because if they want to interact locally, to the deeper level, or maybe they just want to keep their brain active, or maybe like I said, because many people speak English here, like, why should they bother learning Khmer at all? So is there any recommendation, learn or not to learn Khmer, for example?
I think it depends what you want from your life here. So my wanderings on the motorbike take me out into all sorts of places that are away from the town centre. And the further you go from the town centre, the less likely it is that people you come across will speak English. So it's nice to be able to communicate, at least at a basic level, in those places when you go and see those people in that context. Yeah, I think it's really nice to have those conversations.
Yes, Claire.
Yeah.
Maybe not a very totally different question, but more like, just to know how you feel about SIEM REAP. For example, one of the video that I enjoy the most, because after your video, I went to visit the temple, the Phnom Dehi temple, north of Angkor Thom.
Yes.
Maybe just to clarify, Angkor is not the only ancient city in the world. For example, you visit Beijing, it's also ancient. You visit Tokyo, it's also ancient. You visit Rome, it's even older than Siem Reap. You have the Colosseum in the middle of Rome, or maybe you have the Roman, infrastructure just below a convenience store, for example.
Yes, yeah.
But when you go to Phnom Dehi temple, I believe that not many Cambodians know that temple. When you see a temple half buried underground, and simply sometimes most of the time you are alone there, do you feel like it is, speaking in terms of ancient architecture, do you feel different, for example, visiting the Colosseum in Rome, where many people are there, and visiting a very, very old temple in the ground by yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. It's an incredibly different experience.
How different?
Yeah, just worlds apart. Because with these temples that are out in the middle of nowhere, the journey to get to them is a big part of it too. So you're always looking at your map, going down a wrong road, having to come back, going through that road, and then there's deep sand and you have to, kind of push the bike a little bit. And it's just this wonderful sense of exploration and discovery, finding these places, and then being the only person when you get there, and almost parting the leaves and seeing this incredible structure there. So when you arrive in Phnom Dehi, when you walk kind of along the path and you come to the top, and you kind of stand there for a moment, and it takes a little while to sort of be able to pick out the temples, and the more you stand there and look, the more you see. And I think it's about that slowing down and taking the time and just enjoying that you can be the only person in these wonderful places. And I think that's an incredibly fortunate thing to be able to do that.
But do you feel curious, like why, the area is like that?
Yes, yeah. I always wonder.
What goes into
so many
your
thoughts.
thinking?
I wonder what the buildings were like inside. I wonder if they had curtains or soft furnishings, or like what was inside these places? How did they look? What were the people's houses that lived around here like? Because I know that the houses were generally made of wood, so they haven't survived like the temples have. So we have the remnants of the civilization, of certain part of the civilization, but the domestic side of things, I guess we know a lot less about. And that's really interesting to me as well, like how people live, how people interacted with these stone structures, and what happened to let them kind of be in this state of disrepair, and that they're buried sort of half underground almost. Yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating.
And your journey to Koh Kay is it your first time there in the video at Koh Kay?
We've been there a few times now. Yeah, I really like going out there. The first time we went, it was in the middle of dry season, and there'd been a lot of fires there, so the landscape was really unusual. It was sort of this burnt black sort of floor, and then the temples sort of sitting in this really strange kind of otherworldly almost landscape. But then we went back in the green season, and it's completely different. So it's almost like two separate sites depending on what time of year you go.
I see.
And that group of temples is staggeringly huge. Like there's so much to see there as well. And even going to the back of one of the smaller temples there, and there's the small remains of the building where one of those big statue groups was originally found. That's where it came from. The Bhima versus Duryodhana.
Yes, in Pasatjan.
Yes,
something like that.
Yeah, and the room that they were housed in was barely bigger than the tableau itself. And so it just fascinates me that they built these colossal statues and put them in a room where nobody could really see them that well. And I wonder why they would do that. Like, why would they put them in such a small space that kind of forces you to look at them through a window or through through the doorway. Like, was that their intention? Was that you would have to look in on this thing that was going on with these statues? Yeah. And it's just following that process of the repatriation of those statues has been incredible as well.
Yes, Claire, but just to have an exchange of view, for example, Cambodian people, when they go to Paris, they feel, it's a very authentic feeling, maybe a bit overrated, but, I stay near the Eiffel Tower, I can look, at the Eiffel Tower from my window, something like that. But do you feel the same thing when you, let's say, leave a few kilometers from Angkor Wat? I mean, do you get the same feeling like, when Asian people go to Europe, for example?
I think so. I think it's impossible to take that road out to the Angkor Archaeological Park, the one that runs into Angkor Wat's moat, the main road. And you get that kind of prickly sense as you're going up that road that you're just seeing something amazing.
You feel like, the nature, goes on top of you? Or
I think it's just, you just feel like you're entering something incredibly special. And then you go around a little bit further and you come across the southern gate of Angkor Thom. And that's just such an incredible sight to behold. And I don't think anybody would ever tire of seeing that. And it's just something incredibly special and absolutely on a par with anything that you'd see overseas.
I see. Maybe just a question that maybe you can describe in a very broad sense also, because maybe you live here for 6 years. The total of 6 years. Can you describe, what is it like to live in Siem Reap year round? For example, at the beginning of the year, January, February, March, how is it? How does it feel in the middle and at the end? Can you give a brief, example of a year in Siem Reap, let's say?
A year in Siem Reap,
a year in Siem Reap.
So I think the best time in Siem Reap is sort of November, December, January, when it's at its coolest. And you can actually feel cold, if you're going out to the temples for sunrise, it can feel quite cold at that time of year.
Early in the morning,
yes. And feeling cold here is such an unusual sensation because the rest of the year it can be just so incredibly hot. So I think, that's probably the best time of year in terms of being able to walk around and see things, that involve a bit of physical exertion. And then the really hot season, sort of March, April and May. So this year we travelled for 2 months over April and May because that time of year is so incredibly hot in Cambodia. And one of the other amazing things about living here is that we are able to easily travel to other countries. So we took the opportunity when it was really hot here to do that travelling. So that's a personal choice. A lot of expats stay through that period and tolerate the heat really well. And then after that, we come into the wet season, which is kind of where we are now, the start of the rainy season. And I just love this time of year. It's just so nice to have those big thunderstorms that roll in, and it's a bit exciting when the sky goes black. And then everything becomes green and beautiful, and my garden grows a lot more quickly.
But the rainy season here, some people might misunderstood that it rains all day long for weeks. But the rainy season here is like, a short burst of heavy rain.
Yes.
And then the sky just clears up, right?
Yes. So it's the way the wet season is here is very similar to how it is back home in Queensland, Australia for us, in that there's, it builds into a really big storm, then you have a storm for an hour and then it clears and it will be sunny again after that. Whereas a long time ago, we lived in Vietnam and the wet season there lasts for, let's say, 3 months. And in that time, the sky is never blue. It never breaks. And it can be quite depressing and challenging to live there through that time. But in Cambodia, it's completely different. It's absolutely livable. And, being caught out in a rainstorm is one of the great things about being here, one of the great adventures. And flash flooding and riding your bike down a street that was dry 1 minute and now it's got this much water. All of those things add to kind of the excitement and the difference of living here.
So what you mean is that, sometimes when things are too easy, it's not fun. It should have like a little bit of challenge throughout the day so that, you keep entertaining your body, your
Yes.
your mind, something like that. Yeah.
And I think that's true more broadly in terms of why certain people choose Cambodia over the neighbouring countries is because things are a little bit more difficult here than what they might be in Vietnam or Thailand, for example, or Malaysia. Those places that are a bit more westernised, and it's a bit easier to get all the Western groceries that you're used to. Whereas here it's just that little bit harder, things that you have to put a little bit more thought into things that you're doing. And I think that's kind of attractive for a lot of people because people want that more authentic life. They don't want the easy life that they had back in the West.
So some people say that, okay, Siem Reap, you need to take it slow in order to understand, the city and the atmosphere. When they say that, okay, you need to take it slow, does it goes into your emotion, like, because you have been here, and I assume that you really take it slow. So do you understand that, okay, take it slow is something that more people should do in Siem Reap, not just a 2 or 3 days visit,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think Siem Reap, we should have a campaign, Siem Reap, stay a week. People should stay a lot longer here in Siem Reap. And I think we should try and market Siem Reap as a return destination as well. You know how some people go to the islands in Thailand or in Greece or wherever, and that's their annual holiday. They go to the same place every time. I think we should try and get people doing the same thing with Siem Reap, people that really love what's on offer here, and encourage them to come back more and to stay longer when they're here. Like, length of stay is just so important. Like, once people are here, there's so much for people to see and do in Siem Reap. You could easily stay 2 weeks and not even scratch the surface of what there is.
But based on your opinion, like, what Siem Reap should have, additionally more in order to bring back, visitors? Because, some people said, some travelers, they just do like a checklist, I've been here, I've been here, I've been here, so that they put, in their Instagram. But how Siem Reap should look like, in your opinion, in order for people to come back again and again and, let's say, explore the same thing deeper, or maybe explore new things? Okay.
I think there's a number of things that could be done, and I think the visa is a bit of a sticking point. I think it would be easier for people to return if they didn't have to go through the process of securing a visa, either before they get here or on arrival. So that's one thing. It's just it's a small hurdle, but it's a hurdle nonetheless. And if people are looking at neighbouring countries that don't have the same restrictions, then they might choose to go to a different place. So I think that's really important and something that could be looked at. But I think Siem Reap has enough to keep people entertained. I think it's more about getting that information out there. So I think it's more of an education and awareness campaign that needs to happen, because everything is already here. There's so many wonderful things to do, and you could spend so long and so many days doing so much. You've got Koh Kea really close, you've got Kulin Mountain, you can easily do a side trip to Bat Dambong. It's just so much on top of Siem Reap itself, and all of the temples around Siem Reap, and everything else there is to do in Siem Reap too. Like, people should spend time enjoying the slower pace of life. So if you're staying in a really nice hotel or a resort, then take the time to have a few days where you just lie around by the pool and go out and enjoy some local food or go to a local cafe. Not every day has to be a big
busy,
ticket item.
Like a temple run. You don't need to do that.
Yes, you don't have to be ticking off massive items on your list every day. It's more about getting in touch with the slower pace of life here and enjoying just day-to-day things that are so wonderful here. Going to Teams Gallery, for example, and just wandering around there for a morning is a lovely thing to do. And then having a coffee and then having a nap. You shouldn't need to feel like you have to tick off 10 temples before breakfast, It's just people come here trying to shove everything into 3 days. Yeah. And I think it gives you an experience that's not as good as what it could be if you took longer to really enjoy and explore.
So maybe my last question also, so focusing on communication when you are on the ground in Siem Reap and you see, let's say the possibility and the potential that the province and the people could offer. So you feel like not enough is being communicated outside. Is that the case, or?
I think so. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I'm not outside of Cambodia, so I don't see any campaigns that might be going on in the West to bring people here. But I think probably too much focus is on Angkor Wat itself. I mean, I know it's the jewel in the crown, but so few people come here and actually realise that there are so many other temples. They don't realise that Angkor Wat is part of a massive complex and that Siem Reap province has thousands of sites, you know, that are even older, quite a bit older than Angkor Wat, for example. So I think an awareness campaign that it's more than just Angkor Wat. Because people think, why am I spending $37 on a ticket to see Angkor Wat? They don't understand that that ticket is getting them access to
the whole
hundreds
park.
of other temples within the park. Yeah. And even Kokera is covered under the same ticket, and, you know, Kabul Spian and places like that. So just allowing yourself the time to explore these things at a much slower pace, I think, would be a really good way to promote Cambodia.